Welcome to the world of the elite, where gold masks the rot within, and every smile hides a sharpened blade, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The crystal chandeliers cast a fragmented light upon the 5-tier cake, much like Elara's life right now, broken, discarded, and treated as something cheap and valueless. In this world where people use money to measure human dignity, the simple honesty of a poor artist like Elara is seen only as outdated merchandise. Luxury and cruelty often walk hand in hand, creating a spectacle where the suffering of the innocent becomes the entertainment for those who have far too much. Julian was the man who once promised her the world, but tonight, he is the one leading the chorus of mockery against her very existence here. Blood is supposed to be thicker than water, but for the Lin family, blood is merely a currency they are willing to trade for social standing and wealth. She could feel their eyes like icy needles against her skin, judging her for her poverty, her art, and her refusal to play their hollow games. Julian stepped forward, his voice dripping with false sympathy that only served to highlight the cruelty of his intentions before the gathered crowd of elites. He told her she was a ghost at a feast, a reminder of a past he had outgrown, and that her presence was an insult to beauty. The weight of their collective scorn was a burden too heavy to bear, and so Elara chose the only dignity left to her, a quiet exit. Nature mirrored the storm within her soul as the sky opened up, washing away the pretense of the evening with a cold and relentless downpour. They didn't just throw her out, they discarded her soul, her hard work, and her dreams into the mud as if they were nothing but garbage. Each tear in the canvas felt like a cut on her own skin, a violent end to the only thing that had ever truly belonged to her. She reached for the fragments of her life, but the rain was too heavy and the mud too deep, leaving her alone in the crushing darkness. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs failed, fleeing the lights of a world that had never truly seen her for who she was. The forest was a maze of shadows, yet it felt safer than the gilded cage she had just escaped, where the predators wore silk and velvet. Through the haze of her tears and the blinding rain, a single spark of hope appeared, a light in the distance that promised a temporary refuge. The ground rose up to meet her as she fell, the cold water of the lake lapping at her feet, signaling the end of her journey. Before the darkness could claim her, a presence arrived, not a prince in a carriage, but a man who smelled of earth and hard work. His touch was surprisingly gentle for a man whose hands were built for labor, a stark contrast to the coldness she had known all her life. He bore her weight as if she were a precious treasure, carrying her away from the storm and into the quiet sanctuary of his lakeside home. The air was thick with the scent of burning pine and old paper, a world away from the sterile, perfumed halls of the mansion she fled. The warmth began to seep into her bones, but her heart remained frozen, still trapped in the echoes of the laughter and the cold rain outside. He didn't ask her name or why she was there. He simply provided what she needed most, a place to exist without being judged or belittled. They call him a failed gold digger, a man who spends his days searching for scraps in the river. But his eyes tell a different story. There was a quiet grace in his simplicity, a dignity that didn't require expensive suits or grand titles to make itself known to the world. She wondered who this man really was, this stranger who lived on the edges of society, yet possessed a peace that the wealthy could never buy. As the night bled into morning, the world was reborn in shades of grey and blue, mirroring the quiet transition happening within the cabin walls. He didn't offer her words of comfort. He offered her the tools to heal herself, recognizing the artist that still lived within her broken spirit. The emptiness of the canvas was not a threat, but a promise, a chance to rewrite her story in colors that no one could ever wash away. To the world, he was just a man chasing a fool's dream in the dirt. But Kaelen knew exactly what he was looking for in life. She saw the strength in his solitude, the way he moved with the rhythm of the earth, and she began to capture that essence on paper. He claimed he found them at a flea market, but the quality of the pigments suggested a much more expensive origin than he was willing to admit. With every stroke of the brush, Elara felt the weight of the mansion and Julian's laughter fading, replaced by the vibrant pulse of her own creativity. The lakeside became her sanctuary, a place where time slowed down and the only thing that mattered was the truth revealed through the tip of a brush. She wasn't just painting a picture, she was pouring her pain, her anger, and her newfound hope into a masterpiece that would soon shake the world. He was the silent guardian of her genius, the man who provided the foundation upon which she could build her greatest work of art yet. The Phoenix and Ashes was born, a testament to her survival and a warning to those who thought they could destroy her without any consequence. He knew then that she was ready, that the world needed to see what he had seen, and that the time for hiding was coming to an end. While Elara slept, the miner was making arrangements that would move mountains, proving that even a simple man can hold the keys to a kingdom. The outside world was knocking, but this time it wasn't coming to take something away. It was coming to witness a revolution in the art world. He told her that her art was a weapon, and that the auction house was the battlefield where she would finally reclaim her stolen honor and name. Fear and excitement warred within her, but the memory of the mud and the laughter fueled her resolve to stand tall once again. They were a team now, the artist and her protector, preparing to enter the lion's den with nothing but a canvas and the truth between them. The journey back to the top had begun, and this time, Elara wasn't going as a beggar, but as a force that could not be ignored. The city awaited, a jungle of concrete and ambition, where reputations are made and broken in the blink of an eye during a single evening. The air was thick with the scent of perfume and greed, as the same people who mocked Elara gathered to bid on the latest trends. Julian was in his element here, surrounded by the hollow praise of his peers, unaware that his world was about to be turned upside down. They had already forgotten the daughter they discarded, their minds focused only on the prestige that this auction would bring to their tarnished family name. The room was a cathedral of commerce, where art was reduced to a number on a ledger, and the soul of the artist was often ignored. She didn't need jewels to shine. Her strength was her ornament, and her purpose was a fire that burned brighter than any diamond in the room. She felt a momentary pang of loneliness, but then she remembered the cabin, the fire, and the man who taught her how to believe in herself. The game was beginning, and the stakes were higher than anyone in that room could possibly imagine. As the first lot was announced to the crowd, his arrogance was a shield against his own insecurity, a loud declaration of a power that was built on a foundation of sand and lies. The numbers climbed higher and higher, a cold calculation of worth that ignored the heart and focused only on the prestige of the transaction being made. A hush fell over the room as the atmosphere changed. A sudden tension that suggested something extraordinary was about to be revealed to the jaded audience. The room gasped as the painting was revealed, the raw emotion and brilliant colors of the piece demanding the attention of every soul in the vast hall. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a masterpiece born of real pain and genuine hope, standing out against the sterile art of the elite world. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The trash he had thrown into the mud had returned to haunt him in the most public way. They had traded her for status, never imagining that she was the very thing that could have brought them the true glory they so desperately craved. In a desperate attempt to maintain his control, Julian lashed out, his words a pathetic attempt to extinguish the fire that Elara had finally ignited. Doubt began to cloud the room, the poison of Julian's words spreading through the audience like a dark ink in a glass of clear, pure water. The voice was calm, yet it held a power that commanded instant respect, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very walls of the auction house. He spoke of the painting's soul, its truth, and its undeniable value, challenging anyone in the room to find a work of greater importance than this one. The room exploded in whispers as the astronomical sum was read aloud, a price that instantly elevated Elara to the pinnacle of the global art world. His small world was crumbling, his influence evaporating in the presence of a true titan who recognized the worth of the woman he had discarded. It was a statement of intent, a declaration that some things are beyond price, and that Elara's genius was one of those rare and precious things. The hammer fell, and with it, the old life of Elara ended forever, replaced by a destiny that was written in gold and fire and victory. She was no longer the girl in the mud. She was the creator of the most valuable painting in the world, a queen in her own right. His time was over, his access revoked by the very power he had tried so hard to emulate, but had never truly understood or possessed. The crowd held its breath as the miner was revealed, not in rags, but in a suit that cost more than most people's entire lives. The man from the lake was the owner of the golden crown, the billionaire who had hidden himself away to find something truly real in life. The realization was a poison to their pride, a crushing weight that forced them to see the truth of their own shallow and cruel natures. He didn't need to say a word to the others. His presence and his support for Elara were the ultimate punishment for those who had wronged her. The tables had turned completely, and the girl who was once cast out was now the one who would decide the future of art itself. Justice was not a loud explosion, but a quiet closing of doors and a systematic dismantling of a life built on the suffering of others. She had found a new family, one built on respect and shared passion rather than the hollow obligations of blood and social standing in the world. The silence was peaceful, a moment of reflection before the new chapter of their lives began, in the bright light of a new day. The world was her canvas now, and she painted it with the colors of her soul, inspiring millions with her story of resilience and her ultimate triumph. They were two souls who found each other in the dark, and together they created a light that would shine for generations to come in history. The place of her greatest pain became the foundation for her greatest gift to others, a circle of healing that was finally complete for her. She captured the man who saw the diamond in the mud, the billionaire who found wealth in the simple act of panning for gold in life. The lake held their secrets, the memories of a storm that passed and the peace that followed, a testament to the power of the human spirit. In the end, the greatest masterpiece wasn't on a canvas. It was the life they built together, a story of love, art, and sweet revenge. Remember that your worth is not defined by those who fail to see it, but by the fire you carry within your own brave heart. The smallest spark can ignite a fire that changes everything, just as a single moment of kindness can rewrite a destiny that seemed set in stone. Elara's name became a beacon for the lost, a reminder that beauty can emerge from the darkest places if one has the courage to keep painting. The man who once stood at the top was now at the bottom, learning the hard lesson that pride comes before a long and painful fall. Regret is a slow poison, a realization that the things we throw away are often the only things that truly mattered in the end of it. They used their power to build bridges instead of walls, ensuring that the light of art would reach even the furthest and darkest corners of society. Gold is not just a metal, it is the color of the sun, the color of hope, and the color of a spirit that refuses to break. The evolution of the cabin mirrored the evolution of Elara herself, from a humble refuge to a grand statement of artistic and personal freedom for all. She gave them the gift she was once denied, the belief that their voices mattered and that their stories were worth telling through the medium of art. He had searched for gold his whole life, but he finally found the real treasure in the laughter of children and the success of the woman. The new elite were not defined by their bank accounts, but by their contributions to the soul of humanity and the beauty they brought to others. The shadows were still there, but they no longer frightened her. They were simply part of the composition, making the light shine even more brightly. The universe is a vast canvas, and we are all artists, painting our lives with the choices we make and the love we choose to share. The journey was long and difficult, but every step was worth it to reach this moment of perfect harmony and shared purpose in their lives together. Truth has a way of coming to light, and when it does, it burns away the lies and leaves only the foundation of what is real. A name is more than just a label. It is a legacy, a promise, and a declaration of one's place in the long history of the world. Art belongs to everyone, a gift from the soul of the creator to the heart of the viewer, transcending barriers of class and wealth forever. Even the most humble objects can hold the most powerful memories, reminding us of where we started and how far we have truly come together. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to find your center even when the world around you is in a state of chaos. New beginnings are everywhere, waiting for us to notice them and welcome them into our lives with an open heart and a willing, hopeful spirit. The more we experience, the more colors we have to paint with, creating a life that is as complex and beautiful as a fine oil painting. True wealth is measured by the quality of our relationships and the depth of the love we give and receive from those who truly know us. Strength is quiet and steady, like the mountains that watch over us, enduring through the seasons and the storms without ever losing their grand, majestic form. Our scars are not things to be hidden. They are the marks of our survival and the proof of the strength we found when we needed. Together, they were a complete work of art, two different styles and textures blending into a single, harmonious masterpiece of a life well lived and shared. Legacy is what we leave behind to inspire others, a message of hope and beauty that continues to speak long after we are gone from this world. Growth takes time and patience, but the result is a vibrant display of life that rewards those who are willing to tend to the small seeds. The future is in the hands of those we mentor, and Elara made sure that the next generation would have the tools to change their world. Even the most industrial landscape can be beautiful if seen through the eyes of an artist who looks for the light in everything they see around. They found their own rhythm, a pace of life that allowed them to appreciate the small moments as much as the grand achievements they had reached. Freedom is the ability to be yourself, without apology or fear. And Elara had finally achieved the greatest freedom of all for herself and Kaelen. Her voice was a force for change, advocating for the value of art and the importance of supporting those who create from the heart and soul. Knowledge and wisdom are the true treasures of a life, and Kaelen continued to seek them out, always looking for the deeper meaning in all. Everything is connected, every small action, and every large event, weaving together a tapestry of life that is far more complex than we can see. We see the world as we are, and as Elara changed, the world she painted changed with her, becoming a place of warmth and endless possibility. They never forgot where they came from, and that humility was the secret to their lasting happiness and the true power of their shared beautiful life. Life is a series of cycles and each one brings its own beauty and its own lessons, if we are only willing to stop and watch. Her hands were the instruments of her soul, translating her inner world into something that others could see, feel, and understand in their own unique way. They found the balance between the extraordinary and the everyday, recognizing that both are necessary for a life that is truly rich and deeply meaningful. One person can make a difference, and Elara's impact was felt by thousands who found their own way through her example and her generous, kind heart. We are all made of stardust, and our lives are just a brief moment in the grand story of the universe, so let us make it beautiful. They had found their sanctuary, not just in a place, but in each other, a home that would always be there no matter where they went. Every artist has a beginning, and those early steps are just as important as the final triumph, for they are the foundation of all that follows. He was the man who looked beneath the surface and found a soul that was more valuable than all the gold in the world, and more. The dawn of a new era was here, a time of art, truth, and a love that had been tested in the fire and emerged pure. Their story was a kiet tak, a masterpiece of life that would be told and retold, a reminder that even in the mud, a phoenix can rise. The impact of that single night continued to ripple through the world, changing the way people valued creativity and the courage to be truly authentic. That final strike was the sound of a new beginning, a moment that marked the end of Julian's reign and the start of Elara's global influence. She didn't seek the spotlight, but the spotlight found her, drawn to the genuine light that she radiated in every word and every piece of art. He was her anchor, the man who stayed in the shadows so she could shine, knowing that her success was the ultimate reward for his faith. They were forgotten by history, a footnote in a story about someone far greater than they could ever hope to be in their shallow, hollow lives. One life touched another, creating a chain reaction of beauty and hope that would carry on long after the original creators had finished their work. They had helped build a world where art was part of the everyday, a source of joy and reflection for everyone, regardless of their social standing. There was always a new story to tell, a new vision to capture, and Elara was ready to meet each one with the same passion as before. The foundation of their life was built on these small, everyday moments of care and respect, the true gold they had both been searching for always. Nature was the original artist, and they were just its students, learning the language of color and light from the world around them every day. She had found her partner, her muse, and her home in the man who once wore the clothes of a simple miner by the lakeside. A life well lived is its own monument, a story that continues to inspire and guide those who are still searching for their own true path. Every end is a beginning, and every stroke is a step toward a truth that can only be found by looking deep within the human heart. Victory is not about being at the top, but about the climb and the strength we find in ourselves along the difficult and winding way. They were the masters of their own destiny, writing their own rules and creating a world that was as beautiful as the art they loved. The phoenix is a symbol of the eternal spirit, the part of us that can never be destroyed by the mud or the fires of life. One choice can change a life, and those lives touch others, creating an endless wave of transformation that moves through the world in quiet ways. They were home, not just in a house, but in the truth of who they were and the love they had fought so hard to protect. In the grand scheme of things, it is not the gold we find that matters, but the love we give and the beauty we create for others. Thank you for joining us on this journey of the soul. May you find your own canvas and the courage to paint your own beautiful life.